I never knew bananas could start thinking. Lions would find it difficult to hunt. Knowledge is the new cholesterol, and even death should be perfect. Welcome to our podcast series, Figure It Out. I'm Veena and I'm conversing with Ram about this unconventional business book. So, Ram, there are around 50 themes in the book. What is the basis of the themes and how did you arrive at these titles?
Yeah, it's good to be back on the conversation on the book. Fundamentally, the very genesis of before I come and say how the themes we have actually worked at and listed upon, I would like to present the genesis about how the thought actually evolved with us. For me, very closely observing the way the world of businesses is changing around, is struggling, the chaos around it, the emphasis around it, had drawn me a lot of interest into it. So, I would like to present three of the interesting aspects, facets that have actually been the basis in arriving at the 50 different themes. First, I was actually looking at something interesting happening was always about the change that is going around, either it's in professional life or industry, how people adapt to it, how organizations understand the change, how they actually reset themselves, remodel themselves to that change and continue to sustain in the market. So in the process, there was a change that was actually going around, and the entire industry is staring at it. Uh, the very idea for me occurred was that this time the change that has come is not a change that you can go and adapt to it, or you can remodel yourself or readapt yourself to it. But this time, the change that had come into the industry, which is going around, is a change that is as an opportunity that had come to the industry to create something new with which that you have already sustained, which you have already grown with. So the industry was largely staring at the change, and they didn't find the right insights or right metrics to measure the change. And in correlation to this, I read a Fortune 500 report which says, I think it was submitted by McKinsey or some consulting leading consulting company. What I found is that around 45% of the Fortune 500 listed companies have actually either shut down or or laying low, or shut shop, or that just disappeared. So this 45% is a very, very significantly huge number, and this itself indicates the very analysis that the insight that I just found, that this time the change is not to adapt, this time this change is not something to go around it. This time the change had come to create altogether something new, which the opportunity that have been so much been in the brick and mortar industry, now this particular change is trying to ask you to create something new. So that evolution was not in the understanding of most of the segments, most of the businesses. For example, let me say the automobile industry never realized that they're going to be a space where a rental basis or a higher basis model into automobile come and take away the entire charm of the entire automobile industry from the manufacturers itself. Uber did, Ola did. So there are multiple players across in the same similar way. So the very interesting perspective that I would like to draw is that who else all were able to identify an opportunity with a previous history or without any baggage of their successes or failures. They disrupted the entire way in which they have converted that particular change into an opportunity that can carve an edge further. So this is one. Second, I was fascinated about something always. the various functions across an organization. Marketing, sales, finance, people, R&D, technology, and all this. So there is always a competitive pride that these functions take especially in terms of taking the organization to next level of growth. There is always a competitive pride that happens between them. But this time, somewhere post 2012-15, suddenly technology stood up, put the every other business functions to the back seat, and said that I am the guy who is going to drive the entire change. I am going to drive the entire growth for the organization. This was so reflecting in the industry that the value and the valuation of an existing brick and mortar companies, if it isn't associated or embedded with the technology, that company has a larger scope to remain stagnant for a time, remain with some new struggles that it is about to face. So technology, what it did is that unbelievably, it started saying, as I said, I will be the driving seat of the entire business segment, entire organization, and it did something very interesting. It created value, and simultaneously it created a valuation to it, to the very sphere of value, without a proper visualization, without a proper realization of what exactly it is. So it survived with value and valuation, which the other functions could never even understand or could never even realize that there's such an opportunity for them to do it. Third, for a long time, everyone has been customers to some organizations, loyal customers for a long time. Some from for ages they have been across generations. They have been associated with a brand or with a neighborhood shop or with a particular set of service and product companies. But suddenly, the very idea of looking at the way in which the purchase cycle, the process of making a purchase, has taken a new shape, saying, demanding organizations to provide a user experience which actually presents an opportunity for him to go through a lot of visualization about the decision that he is about to make, and either it shapes or makes it much better, or it provides it more alternatives to it, and the decision process happens despite they have been closely associated in terms of commitment, in terms of loyalty to that particular organization. So user experience has become a big force which differentiated in the way that you can draw a customer to you, in the way that you are preparing yourself in losing a customer. So these are the three major facets: the change, adoption, creating an opportunity, to the technology rising to the fore, saying that it's the leading force of the organization, and three, the demand for customer experience across, irrespective of the loyalty that you have been till date exhibiting. So these are the three major rules.
Okay, so we could also see some specific coinages like TLDR and Six Commandments. So how and why these coinages?
For me, I have been not a great internet language guy, but over a period I have seen that a lot of internet languages, lot of internet way of using English have become abbreviated forms, and these abbreviated forms have actually come into the mainstream communications. This itself shows that it has actually went from a very peripheral usage of an expression is now in the mainstream and you have no escape to it. So if I say to a older generation ASAP, they might not understand it. But the younger generation, as you say, I need it ASAP, they know it what it is all about. So the exposure to such an internet language has been long for the last 2 decades. So the communication formats have changed. Maybe adapting to a change, that I always believe adapting to a change reflects and connects at the same time with the generations. And maybe this book has some interesting areas where we try to present ourselves the largely spoken similar themes, but maybe in a different vocabulary, to in a way in which that we want to present. We got it right this time.
Definitely, it seems to be right, and I'm sure the younger generation and all generations would connect to it. But we just spoke about the user experience. So, what is user experience altogether? Can you just give me some examples?
I would like to quote, I would like to draw multiple examples from automobile. Is always my favorite segment to which I've been looking at it. Previously, you want to buy a car, or you want to buy a two-wheeler or a scooter or something. So the way in which the process to purchase it, you need to visit, you need to identify where the showrooms are, you need to identify which showroom offers you which automobile brands, and over a period of things, you do a list of things, you plan for a visit, you find an holiday, you go there, you go through a lot of a variety of options that you have, the choices you want to make. So there's a hell of a process you need to complete it. But with companies, with tech companies, with tech unicorns, they have disrupted the way in which the entire user experience, or the customer experience, rather than I would like to call it a customer experience, going about in changing the very diaspora of the way in which it is being perceived, it is purchased, and how it is actually is being presented to the very customer itself have actually changed. Now you can use AR, VR to go through these showrooms and go and see how exactly the vehicle looks. You get an intricate details of them, you get the pricing comparisons, you get cross comparisons across brands, you might even get the first hand and second hand vehicle value and value addition. It gives you a lot of analysis, what kind of a budget should go into it, every other sphere going into your value of purchase. I think that's where the customer experience created a huge difference. You can you wish to buy you wish to go to a movie, buy a ticket. Now you download an app, buy a ticket. Easiest things that I can pick, and say how user experience, customer experience has actually set a paradigm to the way in which the purchase actually happens and the purchase process goes through it, and it eased, at least it eased a lot of bad competitive or under competitiveness that has been breeded in the industry. I think it's always best for the customer.
Okay, so this goes without saying that the technology adaptation is directly proportional to user experience. And this session was like diving into a pool of knowledge. Personally, for me, I'm sure the users would love it. And thank you so much for joining, Ram. Let's converse more in the coming up session. Thank you.
Thank you.